Welcome everyone to the first episode of Season 3. This is my review. My name is Pilk. This is my channel, Raptors Delight. If you're not familiar with it, we actually play the Danmachi Memoria Freeze mobile game on this channel. In fact, we've got a video coming out about that here in just a little bit because we just got Wiene in the game. Now, let's talk about this episode a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and try to kind of dissect it, but I'm not going to deep dive it. If you want to see a deep dive, we're going to do that later this weekend where we deep dive the light novels versus the episode and really kind of go into depth on that. If you want to see that, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, stay up to date. We're going to do that later on this weekend. But for now, I'm going to try to talk about the anime without going too deep into the light novels, but there are some things I have to discuss because there's some major differences. Maybe differences, I would say. Omissions. There's a couple differences, but there's major omissions that I think make a huge difference in the way you perceive the story from the way it's actually told. So let's go ahead and jump in. Episode 1 kicks off. You remember like the end of Season 2, Wiene slides out of the wall, she lands on the floor, she's newborn. Season 3 kicks off with her just running through the hallway. Running from a bunch of adventures. Beaten, tattered, torn. The thing you don't get here, and it's slightly mentioned later on in the episode, is she's not only attacked by adventurers multiple times in multiple ways, she's also like attacked by fellow monsters. Like she has no place in this world, and that's one thing I don't think they did a good enough job of showcasing. That's something that would have been really easy. That would have taken seconds to show a monster attacking her, show a group of adventurers attacking her, show multiple groups of each, like, attacking her. Because in the light novel, you get more of the feeling, like, not only is she beaten half to death, she's also, like, mentally broken. And she's, like, minutes old. So, you gotta take a lot of these things into perspective. And I don't think the episode did a very successful job of making you feel that sympathy for her. Because really, in the light novels, you get a lot of that. Once again, I'm going to do more of a deep dive on that, but I think it's very, very, very important to really understand this. Obviously, Belle meets her, gets the adventures off her trail. You start to get these first notions that, yes, she's a monster. In fact, when he meets up with his familia, like, they're initially like, holy crap, dude, what are you doing? This is a monster. But it lasts mere seconds, and I really felt like that scene probably needed to last like a minute. Like we needed to have a legitimate standoff there because once again, Belle, that's a freaking monster. What are you thinking? 100%. What are you thinking? But of course, she speaks and everybody instantly drops their weapons. Now that is legitimate, but I really feel like there should have been more tension building there. Personally, that's me. And we almost go instantaneously from that scene to them in the mansion. And the thing I want you to bear in mind, okay? Once again, 4 adventurers and a monster leaving the dungeon. Now, Oranos and Fels have this little conversation about it, and that's kind of the end of it. Like, there's no other real tension there. And you've got to think, like, for them to get her out, they've got to really, like, they've got to use 100% of their cunning. They've got to really plan this stuff out, because it's not like the guild doesn't know that 4 went in, and now 5 are coming out. You know, they've really got to plan this stuff out, and there's just no mention of it. They're just back at the mansion, and then a little bit of tension happens. There's a lot of this that happens in the episode where they're like, okay, cool, we take a tension situation and we just diffuse it instantly. Like instant, like, redemption. And I felt like for the gravity of what this is, we really needed more from the episode. In fact, one of the biggest things that happens here, obviously, is that, you know, all the other adventures are going around to the other gods, and they're talking about, you know, have you ever heard of this monster that can speak? It's a big closing debate here. I say debate, but incident, I should say, with the Hermes Familia, where Hermes is, you know, now found another Familia that's, I guess, keeping monsters in the basement. We're going to find out more about that here real soon. But in this part of the episode, you know, Hestia has a conversation with Hephaestus, and we hear nothing about it. You know, Mikoto has a conversation with her 2 guys. Well, I say her 2 guys, but I can never pronounce his name. I'll just call him Taka and Miach. And there's this whole, like, The gods are even like, buh? So you're starting to get this concept that, like, the gods obviously aren't omniscient. And I think we kind of can figure that out, but, like, that should have been more of a tense moment. All those conversations should have been really tense. The only person who really got a lot of tension and a lot of character building in this regard is Lili. The only downside is I feel like they spent so much time focusing on Lily's jealousy and not enough time focusing on her skepticism, you know? And especially that scene where she goes to the bar and she, you know, changes herself to look like the elf. We know she has that magic. We've seen it in season 1, but if you're new to the series and you go into this episode and you see just this random blonde elf at a bar, you have no idea. Like, obviously the you know, she has the same stature and all that, but it's the first episode of a season 3. They should have done more to show Lili actually doing the transformation. It would have taken seconds thrown in there. And I wonder if maybe that was something that wound up on the cutting room floor. Who knows? But I really felt like those types of little tiny minute details would have made all the difference in the world. The only downside to that is the only way they could have built everything in there that I think was necessary to get this narrative across and to build the tension that it needs to build. They would have had to either do a 1-hour episode or part 1, part 2. And I almost feel like you would lose the casual audience if you did a part 1, part 2. An hour-long episode would have been absolutely perfect, fine. But considering, you know, obviously we've got COVID, everybody's been put back at least a season or two. They probably just weren't going to be able to do that if it was even a thought. So I get it. I do not envy, you know, the screenwriters. I do not envy the people that had to actually adapt this story to screen, because it felt like they did an okay job. I'm going to say good. They did an okay job of the adaptation, but there's a lot of stuff in here that really is necessary. Like, for instance, the scene where she scratches Belle, and then instantly, like, he forgives her, and then he's trying to console her. And yes, but it's like conflict, instant resolution, and then she gets her nails trimmed, and, you know, they're mentioning, like, hey, they're going to grow back. That's fine. We'll deal with it. Like, conflict, instant resolution, no tension. This episode needed so much more tension. I love this series so much. I really am enjoying the hell out of the light novels. I'm trying not to do too much of a comparison between them, but I can't help it. There's so much more tension in that media than there is here. And it's so necessary, so required. It just kind of feels like a Cliff's Notes version of, you know, Book 9, at least the first few chapters of Book 9. So, I don't know how to feel 100% about the episode. I'm very hyped for the rest of the season. If you watch the closing, if you watch the entire outro of the episode, you know what's coming later on in the season, and it is going to be insane. Absolutely insane. So much to be hyped about. And for that reason, I kind of can forgive a little bit of what they did here, as, you know, skipping stuff over, because it's all about Wiene. It's all about building her character and building this, you know, this tension between the familias and building this kind of lore around her, because it's a species we've never heard about before in the series. It's, you know, this is a whole unknown situation, but I really feel like we needed more of that. I just don't know how we'd fit that in 30 minutes. It sucks. It's a rock and a hard place. It really is a rock and a hard place. Let me know what you guys thought of the episode down below. I'm still don't get me wrong. As critical as I am of the episode, I feel like we were owed a little tiny bit more, if that makes sense. And I really feel like there was more available that they just kind of let fall through their fingers. But that's my review, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Am I dead wrong? Did you absolutely love the episode? Forget the fact I love her as a character. She's absolutely, like, you know, being somewhere between, like, a child, like having that childlike innocence, almost like a pet at times, as weird as that sounds. It sounds really, really awful, but it is true. Like, she's just kind of somewhere in the center. She doesn't really have a defined role, I guess you could say, at this point, which is, you know, obviously going to happen. But I felt like we lost a lot of tension. I felt like that could have been executed a little bit better. But if you want to know more about that, definitely subscribe, hit the notification bell to stay up to date, hit that like button if you want to see more of these episode reviews. I'm going to try to bring these back to you every single week when we do this. I'm hoping that and I really feel like with what's coming up, we won't need to be so critical about the episodes going forward. I hate to get into episode 1 and just instantly be critical of it, but it did feel rushed a little bit. It did very much feel rushed. But we did get to meet her. We did get to see her character, and that's very good. So hit that old thumbs up button. I'll be back at you guys next week with another episode review. I'll be back this weekend sometime. I haven't decided when yet, but we're going to do a deep dive into the light novels versus the episode. That's going to be a lot more in-depth and probably I assure you, a lot longer. But for now, that's the episode review. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section, and I will catch you guys next week for episode 2. And if you guys stick around, obviously we've got more Danmachi Memoria Freeze, the mobile game. Very fun game, very free to play. If you haven't been playing it, it's a great time to get into it. We just got a huge update today. I'll be back with all that information here in just a little bit. And obviously, like I said, episode 2 next week, and the deep dive sometime this weekend.